Guys, can we be a little more professional here? You know, you're laughing all the time. You know, I got things to do. There's a certain line, you know, with the jokes. He goes, you shouldn't cross that line because sometimes you can't get back.
At 50, Leonardo DiCaprio has everything. Fame, Oscars, yachts, and models, but never a wife. For decades, the world has questioned why.
Everyone has their own connection. You're almost setting yourself up for disaster in a lot of ways. You can't believe what you read. I suppose that's subject to interpretation. That's been really my main focus.
Today, he finally reveals the truth. It's not what the tabloids said. It's deeper, bolder, and more personal than anyone imagined. This isn't just about marriage. It's about freedom, legacy, and a silent rebellion against Hollywood norms. Stay with us, because what Leo says now changes everything we thought we knew. Hollywood's most eligible mystery. Leonardo DiCaprio has done it all, won an Oscar, starred in billion-dollar films, dated some of the world's most famous women, and made headlines for nearly 3 decades. Yet, through all the flashing lights and red carpets, there's one thing he's never done: gotten married. At 50 years old, he remains Hollywood's most talked-about bachelor. While his peers have settled down, started families, or divorced publicly, Leo continues to walk solo. And that choice has raised more questions than any role he's ever played. George Clooney, once the world's top bachelor, is now married with kids. Brad Pitt walked down the aisle twice. Even wild card stars like Johnny Depp have tried marriage, with all the chaos it brought. But Leo? He's never been engaged, never even come close. In an industry built on image, his avoidance of marriage stands out like a missing frame in a perfect film reel. Tabloids have turned his love life into a running joke. The internet exploded with memes, poking fun at his pattern of dating younger women and avoiding commitment. But behind the gossip lies something more complex. This isn't just about a celebrity who doesn't want to settle down. There's a deeper reason Leo has never taken that final step, one that has nothing to do with fear of love. For years, DiCaprio stayed silent on the topic, giving vague answers or dodging the subject entirely. But recently, in a rare interview, a close friend shared something unexpected. According to this insider, Leo's reason for avoiding marriage isn't about commitment. It's about identity. He's not scared of love. He's scared of fading into someone else's world and losing himself in the process. This insight changes the entire narrative. Most people assume he's simply not the marrying type, or that he prefers freedom. But the truth, as described by those who know him well, is that Leo fears disappearing. He spent his early life trying to be seen, to be heard, to be noticed. And marriage, to him, feels like a step toward invisibility. As a child growing up in the rough parts of Los Angeles, Leo didn't have the luxury of stability. His parents separated when he was just a baby. His childhood was shaped by poverty, broken homes, and the chaos of 2 households trying to function as one. He saw how love could fall apart. That shaped how he sees long-term relationships to this day. Even though his father remained involved, the emotional balance was fragile. Leo grew up watching adults struggle to hold things together. It taught him not to expect permanence. While others dreamed of fairy tale weddings, he dreamed of escaping that instability. That mindset never left him, even after fame and fortune arrived. As he climbed the Hollywood ladder, marriage never seemed like a priority. He was focused on becoming someone important. Every role he took pushed him further away from the life he came from. Acting wasn't just a job. It was his escape plan. The more success he had, the more control he gained over his story. By the time Titanic hit theaters in 1997, Leo had become a global icon. Millions adored him, but no one truly knew him. His fame exploded overnight, and his personal life became public property. From then on, every relationship was judged, every woman analyzed. So he kept things quiet, he kept them short, and he kept himself protected. Unlike many celebrities, DiCaprio never used his relationships as part of his brand. He didn't sell couple magazine covers or stage public proposals. Instead, he chose privacy over performance. That made him harder to figure out and more interesting to watch. But it also made his personal life feel like a puzzle no one could solve. The public kept asking, why doesn't he commit? But maybe they were asking the wrong question. Maybe it's not about what he doesn't want. It's about what he's trying to preserve. In a world where everything is shared, Leo has fought to keep something for himself. And for him, that might mean not giving it a title at all. Leonardo finally opens up about the one choice he's never made, and why it defines everything he is today. The truth, he finally told. In a rare 2025 interview, Leonardo DiCaprio spoke plainly about something he's avoided for years: marriage. He didn't offer excuses or try to sound mysterious. Instead, he said, "It's not that I'm against it. I just never saw myself as the guy in that picture frame." For someone whose life has been under a microscope, this quiet admission said more than any headline ever could. It revealed a man who has made peace with his choices, even if the world hasn't. DiCaprio's view of marriage is shaped by what he's seen around him, especially in Hollywood. Celebrity marriages are often short-lived, noisy, and built for cameras. They come with red carpet pressure and tabloid interest. He's watched public couples become performances instead of partnerships. To Leo, that version of love looks more like a script than a real relationship. His early life taught him that love doesn't always fit inside a perfect box. His parents, George and Irmeline, split when he was still a baby. But instead of cutting ties, they raised Leo together while living next door to each other. It wasn't typical, but it worked. That setup showed him love didn't need to follow rules, and maybe marriage didn't need to be the goal. As he grew older and gained fame, Leo leaned into control. Privacy became his most valuable possession. While others posted their lives online, he protected his like it was part of his brand. Marriage to him looks like losing control of that freedom. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much about what he's built. He's not afraid of commitment, he's afraid of erasure. A former girlfriend reportedly told friends that Leo once said, "If I marry, I disappear. And I've worked too hard to be seen." That line, simple as it sounds, cuts deep. It reflects the mindset of someone who had to fight to be recognized, to matter, to have a voice. He's not keeping people out. He's keeping himself intact. By 50, most men face pressure to settle down. People expect weddings, kids, and a clear plan for the future. Society treats marriage like a final step, a sign of maturity and stability. But Leo doesn't follow those rules. He's not interested in proving anything by checking off boxes others created for him. His life has been driven by purpose, not routine. He's chosen roles that push boundaries, not ones that play it safe. He takes the same approach to his personal life. He avoids patterns that feel forced. Marriage, in his world, feels like one more thing he never asked for, but everyone expected. There's a quiet strength in the way he handles it. He doesn't defend, explain, or lash out. He simply moves forward, building his life on his own terms. That takes discipline in an industry where image is currency. It also takes a level of self-awareness that most people never reach. What looks like selfishness to some might actually be clarity. Leo has never promised something he couldn't give. He's been honest through his choices, even if he rarely speaks about them. He doesn't fake the story people want. He sticks to the life he understands. And that makes him hard to define, but impossible to ignore. His fans have grown with him. They've watched him evolve from teenage heartthrob to serious actor. Now they see a man who refuses to fold under pressure. While others chase appearances, Leo protects what matters most to him: his time, his space, his identity. And for him, that's enough. He's not against love. He just sees love as something that doesn't need to be owned, labeled, or certified. In a world where relationships are measured by rings and timelines, he's chosen something different. And even if people don't get it, he's not waiting for their approval. He's already decided what works for him. This honesty has value. It opens the door to a bigger conversation about freedom, purpose, and personal truth. Leo didn't follow the crowd, and he's not apologizing for it. He's giving others permission to rethink what commitment really means. Maybe love doesn't have to look like tradition to be real. And maybe that's the story we've missed all along. Not that Leonardo DiCaprio avoids marriage, but that he understands himself better than most ever will. At 50, he's not trying to explain his life, he's just living it, fully aware and completely on his own terms. And that might be the boldest choice of all. Raised by chaos, driven by purpose. Leonardo DiCaprio didn't come from glamour. His early childhood unfolded in a gritty Los Angeles neighborhood just steps away from Skid Row. Poverty was real, crime was daily, and the idea of luxury didn't exist in his world. This wasn't a temporary phase. It was how life started for him. He grew up knowing survival more than stability. His parents split when he was just a toddler, but they didn't walk away from each other's lives. Instead of bitterness, there was teamwork. His father, George, stayed nearby, and both parents remained involved. It was unconventional: an artist mother, a comic book dad, and an unpredictable home life. Yet even through dysfunction, there was a kind of fierce, messy love. Still, Leo was always aware that love in his world came with baggage. Arguments, instability, financial stress, it all added layers of caution to how he viewed relationships. He saw what happened when love couldn't hold up under life's pressure. The broken pieces left marks, even when patched with kindness. That lesson stuck with him longer than any school subject ever did. Hollywood didn't exactly welcome him with open arms either. Agents told him to change his name because DiCaprio didn't sound marketable. He was rejected over and over before anyone gave him a second look. There were no shortcuts, no family connections, no big favors, just hustle. Acting wasn't just a dream, it was an escape route. His early auditions weren't about fame, they were about survival. He watched his mom work multiple jobs to keep the lights on. Every role he chased was a step further from repeating that life. The drive wasn't just about proving himself to the world. It was about not becoming another story of wasted talent from a broken home. He was running from what he feared would trap him. Leo has said before that he was raised on survival, and that mindset became his fuel. That idea of always staying one step ahead bled into his career. He never got too comfortable, never chose safe roles, and never took the Hollywood path most expected. His success was built on instinct, precision, and work ethic. He wasn't chasing stardom. He was trying to outrun the instability he knew too well. The pain of his childhood wasn't loud or dramatic, but it was constant. He saw addiction, crime, and broken dreams up close. It left a mark that no Oscar or mansion could erase. And when you've seen how easily things fall apart, you learn not to trust the illusion of forever. That included love, no matter how beautiful it looked from the outside. There's an idea that kids from chaos either crumble or climb, and Leo climbed. He didn't just want to succeed, he wanted to control every step. Fame gave him choices, and he used that control to protect himself. He stayed private, guarded, selective. He was never going to let his life fall into someone else's hands. Some say he avoids marriage because of his lifestyle, but it goes deeper than yachts and models. He grew up watching what happens when emotions get tangled in chaos. He saw that even people who love each other can cause damage. That memory doesn't fade just because you grow older or richer. It's hardwired into your sense of safety. A former teacher once said Leo was sharp beyond his years, and it's clear that emotional awareness helped shape his path. He reads people fast, senses pressure early, and never lets fame blind him. That mindset helped him survive in Hollywood, but it also kept him from committing deeply in love. He doesn't fear love, he fears loss of control. There's also a pattern in his roles, emotionally intense characters, often trapped by circumstances or inner demons. From The Basketball Diaries to The Revenant, his characters mirror a personal storm. It's like acting is how he processes what he won't live out in real life. He gives it all on screen, so he can keep his private world contained. One person who knew Leo in his 20s claimed he once said, "I'd rather play heartbreak than live it." It was a throwaway comment at the time, but it says a lot. When you're raised around emotional mess, you build armor, and Leo built his with ambition. He didn't want to be saved, he wanted to win, and winning meant not repeating the past. The truth about Leonardo's model phase isn't shallow. It's strategic, and it reveals what he fears most in love. Why his girlfriends never became wives. Leonardo DiCaprio's dating history has sparked headlines for over 2 decades. The list includes supermodels, actresses, and international stars: Gisele Bündchen, Bar Raffaele, Blake Lively, Tony Garn, Camilla Morrone, and most recently, Vittoria Ceretti. Media tends to focus on one point: their ages. But reducing each of these relationships to just numbers skips over years of emotional connections, private struggles, and personal growth that often go unseen. These weren't flings. Some lasted half a decade, showing patterns more complex than clickbait will admit. Yes, there's truth in the pattern, but not the way it's often framed. Gisele dated Leo from age 20 to 25, but their relationship lasted 5 full years, not a brief stint. Camilla Morrone was also with him for about 5 years, from her early 20s to 25. So the so-called age 25 cutoff isn't a strict rule. It's a meme that ignores actual timelines. His breakups didn't land on a birthday. They happened like most do, when the relationship no longer worked for both people. Gisele once said, "I was growing. He wasn't." That line fueled headlines, but the context matters. She was on a spiritual path, choosing wellness and sobriety while he stayed in a high-speed lifestyle. Their paths didn't clash because of marriage fears, but because they evolved in different directions. Relationships can be long and meaningful without leading to the altar, and still end when people grow apart. Camilla Morrone's experience offers another layer. She was 22 when she started dating Leo and instantly faced cruel press attention. Age gap jokes, sexist assumptions, and social media mockery followed her every move. Instead of focusing on their 5-year connection, headlines focused on her age, as if she had no personality or agency. The coverage said more about society's discomfort with unconventional pairings than about the relationship itself. Underneath the public noise, DiCaprio has shown consistent emotional patterns. He often stays in long-term relationships, rarely rebounds quickly, and keeps things private. Insiders say he forms deep bonds, but struggles with the pressures that come with commitment, not emotional connection. He's known to be loyal, generous in relationships, and careful about who he lets into his inner world. The issue isn't love, it's the structure that society attaches to it. Marriage, for many, represents stability, but also expectation. DiCaprio grew up watching his parents separate but remain close, reshaping the idea of family. That shaped his view of love. It's fluid, not fixed. He avoids the traditional template, not because he's afraid to settle down, but because he questions why love has to follow one script. That mindset isn't rare in Hollywood, it just stands out more when you're constantly in the spotlight. Look at Keanu Reeves. He's had a long-term partner, never married, and avoids attention. Oprah Winfrey has been with Stedman Graham for decades, yet never walked down the aisle. Like DiCaprio, they reject pressure to fit cultural milestones and instead choose what works for them. In that light, Leo's path seems less rebellious and more intentional. He isn't against commitment. He's against expectations that come with public approval. One storyline that's rarely discussed. DiCaprio may not just be dodging marriage, he may be shielding his relationships from media destruction. His fame is global, his face on every tabloid, and his moves scrutinized. A high-profile marriage would create a circus, something he's long tried to avoid. His silence, in a way, protects his partners from becoming headlines more than people. There's also a pattern in the type of women he dates. Not just younger, but career-focused, private, and often outside Hollywood's chaos. This could reflect his desire for grounded connection in an ungrounded industry. His long-term partners aren't party girls or influencers chasing clout. They're individuals with their own identities. The age factor becomes a distraction from the real pattern. Control over his emotional environment. DiCaprio's relationship history, when stripped of memes, reveals a man choosing freedom over form. He's not rejecting love, he's rejecting the narrative that love must look one way. That belief may come from childhood, or maybe from fame. Either way, it shapes how he engages with women, media, and commitment. To him, real connection isn't about a ring. It's about being allowed to define it on his own terms. The one that got away? When Titanic hit theaters in 1997, the world saw a love story between Jack and Rose, but behind the scenes, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet were forming something even more powerful, a real connection that lasted decades. Their chemistry on screen was undeniable, but what they built off-screen became even more rare. No romance, no scandals, just an unshakable bond. In Hollywood, that kind of closeness without romance is almost unheard of. From the start, they've both insisted their relationship was purely platonic. But that line only made the public more curious. The truth is, their emotional closeness has outlived every one of Leo's romantic relationships. Kate married, had kids, and moved forward with her life. Yet Leo has stayed right there, always present, always supportive. It's the kind of emotional anchor that doesn't need labels. One of the most emotional moments in awards history came in 2009. Kate Winslet, winning Best Actress at the Golden Globes, stood on stage and looked directly at Leo. Her voice cracked as she told him how much she loved him, not romantically, but deeply. In 2016, When Leo finally won his first Oscar, Kate cried in the audience like a proud partner. It was the kind of moment that left people wondering if we'd all misunderstood their bond. In 2025, Kate stirred the conversation again. When asked if she and Leo had ever dated, she said, "We've never been together. But who knows?" That short sentence carried weight. It hinted at a history filled with feelings that maybe never had a place to land. Maybe their love wasn't about timing. Maybe it was about preservation. For Leonardo, Kate may represent something he doesn't want to risk. She's been his safe place, his steady connection through Hollywood's chaos. Defining that relationship could mean losing it to the same pressures that ended his romances. Marriage is public, it's scrutinized, and their connection has always lived outside that noise. It's possible Leo never avoided love. He just protected the one he couldn't afford to lose. There's a quiet theory that Leo already experienced the deepest connection of his life and didn't need marriage to prove it. His bond with Kate lasted longer than any of his romantic relationships. They never had to deal with tabloids, breakups, or gossip columns. They supported each other from the sidelines in a way that stayed pure. Sometimes, the love that lasts is the one that doesn't demand anything back. What makes this relationship stand out is that it never needed validation. There were no red carpet kisses, no exclusive interviews declaring their love, just constant presence in each other's lives. In a world obsessed with labels and Instagram-worthy declarations, Leo and Kate built something quieter and maybe stronger. For Leo, that may be the closest thing to commitment he's ever truly trusted. Looking at his past, all his relationships had one thing in common: public pressure. The moment he dated someone, she became a headline. But with Kate, none of that happened. No judgment, no age gap jokes, no critics analyzing every photo. That peace may be why he held onto it so tightly for all these years. It's easy to assume Leo avoids marriage because he fears commitment. But his connection with Kate suggests something more layered. He's capable of long-term loyalty. He just channels it differently. With her, he's always been emotionally present. That kind of consistency doesn't come from fear. It comes from knowing what's worth preserving. In Hollywood, most relationships fade under the spotlight. But Leo and Kate made theirs survive by keeping it undefined. They created their own rules, where trust came first and titles didn't matter. And maybe that's why it's lasted so long. It wasn't about dating or marriage. It was about staying real. Leo may never marry, and he may never need to. If he already found the person who sees him fully, without demands or expectations, what else is there to chase? Sometimes love doesn't look the way we expect. Sometimes the person who gets away never really leaves. While others marry, Leo's building a future without rings. His commitment? Not to someone, but to something far greater. The future, Leo won't predict. Leonardo DiCaprio turned 50 with no wedding ring, no permanent address, and no timeline. His relationship with Vittoria Ceretti, a 25-year-old Italian model, made headlines, but marriage still doesn't seem to be on his radar. He's spoken of children, even hinted at fatherhood being part of his future. But a traditional family structure? That doesn't seem to fit into the path he's carved for himself. Instead, Leo continues to live life like he always has, committed to freedom, focus, and causes that light him up. In 2024, he said something that stuck. "I'm not getting any younger." It wasn't a confession. It was a quiet acknowledgement that time is moving, even for him. While people his age talk about legacy through family, Leo seems to be building his through something else. His work, his activism, his belief in leaving the world better than he found it. Leo's love for the planet has taken center stage more than any romance in recent years. He's donated millions to environmental causes. His foundation supports over 35 global initiatives. He helped fund the protection of endangered species, Arctic preservation, and rainforest conservation. Some stars by land or yachts, Leo fights for the planet. And he doesn't just write checks. He shows up. He's at UN summits. He gives speeches on climate change. He produces documentaries that expose environmental destruction. He uses his voice in a space where most celebrities stay silent. While tabloids chase his love life, Leo quietly shifts policy and public attention toward real-world crises. That says more about his values than any wedding band could. But Leo's not just saving the Earth. He's also building stories. In recent years, he's stepped deeper into producing. He helped bring Killers of the Flower Moon to life, a project that took years and required relentless passion. He's drawn to stories that challenge power and expose corruption. He doesn't chase roles for fame anymore. He selects ones that carry meaning. Films have become his message. There's something else people miss about Leo, his need for solitude. While fans and press swarm him, he spends much of his time off the grid. Vacations aren't just about beaches, they're escapes from noise. He values quiet. He's not on social media. He rarely grants interviews. There's a sacred space he's carved away from fame, one that lets him reset and breathe. And that solitude might be why marriage doesn't appeal to him. Relationships, especially public ones, invite noise. Leo's lived long enough in the spotlight to know what that noise can cost. He's careful with what he lets in, not because he's afraid of love, but because he protects what matters most: peace. There's a theory that Leo already gave his lifelong commitment, just not to a woman. He committed to his mission, to his storytelling, and to the planet. Every year he chooses that work again and again. For some, love is found in another person. For Leo, it seems to be found in purpose. That kind of devotion isn't flashy, but it's real. And while his dating history often steals attention, it might be time to zoom out. The real love story here might not be romantic at all. It might be Leo's long, faithful marriage to a world he's trying to change. He's not building a legacy through children or vows. He's building one through action. At 50, most people look back and measure their lives by milestones, weddings, anniversaries, children's birthdays. But Leo seems to measure his by impact. How many voices he amplified, how many forests he protected, how many truths he helped tell. That's a different kind of life, but not a lesser one. In fact, maybe Leo's life challenges the whole idea of what makes a man complete. Marriage isn't proof of depth. Kids aren't the only legacy worth leaving, and labels don't make love more real. Maybe Leo has known all along that tying himself down to tradition would only shrink his reach. So here's a thought. Maybe he didn't avoid marriage out of fear, but out of clarity. Maybe he knew his path wasn't about forever with one person, but forever in motion. Forever chasing stories. Forever defending the planet. Forever growing, even without a ring. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.